Yesterday's prophecies, today's headlines. This is the Hal Lindsey Report. And now, Hal Lindsey.
Good evening and welcome to this special edition of the Hal Lindsey Report, Day of Deception. In Matthew 23, Jesus was speaking to the Pharisees in the temple at Jerusalem. He spoke of the consequences of Israel's repeated rejection of God's plan and program. He equated that rejection with a personal rejection of himself. He ended by saying, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who kills the prophets and stones those who were sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together the way a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were unwilling. Behold, your house is being left to you desolate, for I say to you, from now on you shall not see me until you say, Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." When Jesus spoke of Israel's future, he did not say it would be replaced by the church. He said that one day Israel would welcome his return. As they left the temple, his disciples pointed to the magnificence of the structure. The refurbished temple was a point of national pride for the Jew of that day. But Jesus gave them disconcerting response. He answered and said to them, "Do you not see all of these things? Truly I say to you, not one stone here shall be left upon another, which will not be torn down." The Lord and his disciples then walked across the Kidron Valley to the Mount of Olives. Jesus stopped there and sat down. Today, the Mount of Olives gives a dramatic view of Islam's Dome of the Rock. But Jesus and his disciples gazed on the temple. As they did, the disciples must have thought about the words they had just heard. Not one stone here shall be left upon another. So they did what you or I would do. They asked Jesus for more information. Matthew chapter 24 verses 3 through 5 says, "And as he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, Tell us, when will these things be, and what will be the sign of your coming, and of the end of the age? And Jesus answered and said to them, See to it that no one misleads you. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and will mislead many." For the rest of chapter 24 and all of chapter 25, Jesus spoke about his second coming. But I want us to focus on those very first words. The King James translates them, "Take heed that no man deceive you." In verse 4, he spoke of false Christ. In verse 11, he spoke of another kind of deception. He said, "False prophets will rise up and deceive many." Today, false prophets are everywhere. There has never been anything like it. In verse 24, Jesus said, "These false Christs and false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the very elect." 2 Timothy 3 speaks of yet another kind of last days deception. It says, "In the last days, men will be slanderers. They will destroy each other with false accusations." Does that sound familiar? We call it fake news. In verse 13 of that chapter, it says, "Evil men and impostors will grow worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived." And today we're seeing it. Deception on a scale unimaginable by previous generations. For most of human history, there was no such thing as a printing press. The 19th century saw the invention of the electrical telegraph. It wasn't until the 20th century that the telephone came into widespread usage along with the radio, television, films, and a variety of audio and video recording devices. Late in the last century and into the 21st, the internet took communications to levels not previously imagined, but the devices themselves are neutral. They just obey the laws of physics. Liars have wholeheartedly embraced this new era in communications. Today's technology gives extraordinary potency to lies. In 1855, Charles Spurgeon said, "A lie will go around the world while truth is pulling its boots on." Today, lies wrap themselves around the world in nanoseconds. As we entered this new era, we thought that the vigor of modern communications tools had made censorship impossible. China, with the help of U.S. technology firms, is proving that censorship can still thrive. But information control is not limited to communist China. It's happening everywhere. Today, if you need information on a topic, you Google it, right? The Google search engine is one of the great technology wonders of our age. It searches the vast reaches of the internet in fractions of a second. But its real power is the order in which it presents its results. In August, PJ Media asked, "Is Google manipulating its algorithms to prioritize left-leaning news outlets in their coverage of President Trump?" The writer then noted, "Conservatives and Trump supporters have for the last several years questioned whether Google was prioritizing conservative news sites, hiding them from users who utilize their search engine. Conservative sites have reported reduced search traffic, and in the case of Google-owned YouTube, content creators have been banned and demonetized." PJ Media is a conservative site, and they focus on President Trump. But the issue is bigger than that. It's about Google's unprecedented power over human thought. Google has become the world's primary link between the human brain and the outside world of ideas. When it was launched 20 years ago, Google seemed absolutely determined to level the playing field for internet search results. But more and more, the political ideology of its leaders and employees is governing the search results. And that's power, friends. It's not thought control, but it comes frighteningly close. It's as if modern humans have become cybernetic organisms, dependent on the internet for things as basic as what should I eat for lunch? And when we ask, Google answers. More and more, if you are on the internet and promote Christian ideas and values, you're being pushed to the back of the line or even shut out. In December, Facebook blocked the account of Franklin Graham. They did it because of something he had posted years earlier. He spoke out in favor of a bill that would require people to use the public bathroom designated for their gender. Facebook said Grimm had violated its policy prohibiting dehumanizing language, something he clearly had not done. After a huge outcry, Facebook apologized and said it made a mistake. But this is part of a pattern of deceptive behavior among all the big social media platforms. They try to silence Christians' thought, then apologize if too many people complain. As I record this program, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam is under intense pressure to resign. In fact, by the time you see this, It may have already happened. In 1984, Governor Northam graduated from Eastern Virginia Medical School, becoming a medical doctor, a pediatric neurologist. His yearbook page featured a photo of a person in blackface besides a person in KKK robe and hood. When the news broke, the governor apologized. The storm of criticism intensified. He declared that he was not pictured in the photo. Either way, the photograph appeared on his yearbook page. The media was all over the story of the offensive photo, with calls for the governor's resignation and even his impeachment. But as distasteful as the photo was, the governor did something much worse. Not 35 years ago, but just a few days before, he was promoting a radical new pro-abortion law in Virginia similar to the new horrific law in New York. But Northam took it further. He had advocated for taking abortion outside the womb. He said the infant would be delivered, the infant would be kept comfortable, the infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physician and the mother. Since we're talking about abortion, there's no doubt what the discussion would be. Do we let the baby live or do we kill it? Killing babies outside the womb is called infanticide. Because a baby is a human being, it becomes homicide. This is a new and historic step for the abortionists, one that leaves no one safe. But most of the major network newscasts did not even mention it. If we can legally abort troublesome or deformed people outside the womb, everyone is in danger, especially the elderly. The governor's promotion of infanticide reminded me of ancient pagans sacrificing their children on the fiery altar of Moloch. When ancient Israel joined the practice, God finally judged them in the harshest way. They were conquered, then scattered to every part of the world. Sacrificing their babies was the final outrage. God never tolerates it for long. Governor Northam's blackface photo was bad, but can anyone really believe that it is worse than calling for the murder of children? Abortion proponents have always said that children are somehow not human until birth, but he called for killing children after birth, and to my knowledge, none of them said a word against it. This is a dramatic example of the types of deception being practiced in our world today. The mainstream media either completely ignores stories that do not promote their agenda, or they focus on inconsequential stories in an effort to distract our attention from the thing that really matters. The consequences of widespread deception can be catastrophic. Hitler's propaganda machine deceived the German people of the 1920s and 30s. It resulted in the bloodiest war in human history. In the decades following Russia's communist revolution, the Bolshevik deception destroyed tens of millions of lives and almost 100 million more in communist China. Here in the 21st century, deception will also have consequences. Sometimes it only impacts a few individuals, such as the kids and parents of Covington High School. At other times, deception brings down whole nations. In 2002, Venezuelans bought the lie of a charismatic communist leader named Hugo Chavez. He nationalized industries in order to fund more and more social programs. The same socialist communist lie has been destroying nations for 100 years. Venezuela was beautiful and prosperous when Chavez took over. It was the wealthiest nation in South America. His policies turned it into a ruin. Today, hospitals have no medicine for treating the sick. Many of those hospitals don't even have running water. And there are food riots. Animals in the zoos have been killed for food. Toilet paper is more valuable than paper money. Last year, inflation in Venezuela hit 1,000,000%. Think of how much that dilutes a worker's pay during a single shift. The International Monetary Fund predicts inflation in Venezuela will hit 10,000,000% this year. It has grown into a tragedy of massive dimensions. This suffering is incalculable, and it started with deception. The Psalms 5:6 says, "The Lord will abhor the bloody and deceitful man." That's a perfect description of Antichrist. We don't know who he is, but we know that the diabolical mastermind behind him is already hard at work, deceiving and ensnaring the minds of people. 1 John 2:18 says, "Just as you heard that the Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists have arisen." Christians will be raptured out of this world before the Antichrist comes to the pinnacle of power. But the spirit of Antichrist is already at work, and that is Satan. Since the birth of the real Christ, he has been busy making Antichrist, and today he's having astounding success. One of his chief tools in this deception is human religion. Wicca is stronger than ever and increasingly respected. Satan worship has become cool. At North Carolina State University, there is a new Satan club. As usual, they say they don't really believe in Satan. That means they aren't honoring Satan, but what he symbolizes. What does he symbolize? Murder, slavery, rape, theft, war, destruction, and deception. By honoring Satan as a symbol, they are honoring evil of all kinds. And they think it's a good thing? Their beliefs are a result of the deception running rampant in our society. Here's what you need to remember. Lies enslave, but truth brings liberty. In John 8, verse 32, Jesus said, "And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." Satan controls the atmosphere of thought in the world system. And that control is deadlier than the cold steel of a gun in your back. His modus operandi has been so successful that even Christians are being lured from the divine viewpoint of life into Satan's web of deceit. His system of thought bombards us from every direction. He undermines truth using vain philosophy, education, art, music, mass media, and fashion. The devil is the ultimate deceiver. 2 Corinthians 11, verse 14 says, "Satan disguises himself as an angel of light." Revelation chapter 12, verse 9 says, "He deceives the whole world." In John chapter 8, verse 44, Jesus said, "The devil does not stand in the truth because there is no truth in him." Whenever he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own nature, for he is a liar and the father of lies. The Antichrist is not yet part of the world scene, but Satan is. As we move closer to the time of Antichrist, we move deeper into the day of deception, and the The being behind that deception is already here, hard at work. He does an extremely good job with those who do not believe in Christ. And he does a surprisingly good job with those who do. 19 and a half centuries ago, the Apostle Paul gave this emphatic warning: see to it that no one takes you captive through philosophy and empty deception, according to the tradition of men, according to the elementary principles of the world, rather than according to Christ. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 3 warns that this kind of thinking will take hold even in churches. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but wanting to have their ears tickled, they will accumulate for themselves teachers in accordance to their own desires. According to a 2018 Pew Research poll, most American adults self-identify as Christians, but many Christians also hold what are sometimes characterized as New Age beliefs, including belief in reincarnation, astrology, psychics, and the presence of spiritual energy in physical objects like mountain or trees. Overall, roughly 6 in 10 American adults accept at least one of these New Age beliefs. Satan is a deceiver, and he can perform miracles too. He has already been defeated, and he knows it. But he continues to use every tactic in his bag of deception to keep everyone else in the dark, especially believers in Jesus. Despite the deception, God continues to save. He has a people who are not conforming to the world, but are being transformed by the renewing of their minds. He is bringing people to himself every day. It is the work of God, and neither men or devils can stop it. That's the side on which I hope you've chosen to stand. If not, you can make that choice right now. Here's how. Simply confess to God that you are a sinner and can never qualify for heaven on your own. Admit to him that you are sorry for your sins and want to be clean and made whole. Believe in your heart that he is the Son of God, just as God said. Then accept the free gift of pardon that he purchased for you with his death on Calvary. If you do that, you will become a child of the living God and join his forever family. Welcome home. Folks, I'd like to visit with you for a moment about a very important matter. For those of you who have followed this program over the years, you know that we put very little emphasis on raising money to support this ministry. My desire has always been to focus on spreading the gospel and warning unbelievers that time is short. Jesus is coming, but the reality is that producing a weekly television program, and especially buying the airtime to send it around the world, is very expensive. And since we usually spend less than a minute on each program telling you how to support the ministry, I'm afraid that it's out of sight, out of mind. Because I don't stress it, you don't think about it. And I understand that. But I'd like to ask you to think about it a little more. And if you believe this program should remain on the air around the world, then I need your help. Today, please take a moment to go online to hallindsey.com or call 1-888-RAPTURE and make a gift to help us keep the Hal Lindsey Report spreading the good news of Jesus Christ around the world. You can also send cash, check, or a money order to the address you'll see at the end of the show. I appreciate any help you can give us during this critical time. You will share in the harvest of souls that comes into the kingdom each week through this program. Thanks for helping me, and thanks for being a vital partner in my ministry. Well, that's it for tonight, folks. God willing, I'll see you next week.
You've been watching the Hal Lindsey Report. To support this program, send your tax-deductible gift to Hal Lindsey Media Ministries, P.O. Box 470470, Tulsa, Oklahoma 74147. You can also support this ministry online. Visit hallindsey.com or call 1-888-RAPTURE.